Good evening, you're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On the show tonight, senior Congress leaders already begin to shield Rahul Gandhi from any blame on how the party performs this Friday. Is this a bad strategy for the Congress? Shouldn't the Gandhis be taking responsibility for how the Congress performs? And as the Prime Minister says goodbye after 10 years, we look back at the decade of Manmohan Singh and his legacy. That documentary playing out in just about 30 minutes from now. But first, the results aren't even out yet, but senior Congress leaders are already trying to save Rahul Gandhi from any blame, saying that how the party does in the general election will be the collective responsibility of all. In fact, Anand Sharma told NDTV today that Rahul Gandhi is only the vice president.
कट्टर सोच नहीं, युवा जोश.
हर हाथ शक्ति, हर हाथ तरक्की.
He may have been the face of the Congress campaign, sparking off the tagline for the Congress Yuva Josh. His efforts acknowledged today by the chief architect of the Congress campaign.
He was the vice president of the party, but he was not the only campaigner.
But now, with exit polls writing off the Congress's fortunes, the party is scrambling to cushion Rahul Gandhi from blame.
Who should take responsibility for the defeat? Shouldn't responsibility vest at the doorstep of Rahul Gandhi?
No, why Rahul Gandhi is only the vice president of the Congress?
He's the well, then Sonia Gandhi as well. Two senior most leaders of the party.
No, but all of us have campaigned. Nobody prevented senior leaders from campaigning. Nobody prevented the senior leaders from giving their inputs, which we did. So I think we have to collectively introspect as a party.
His colleagues may be forgiving, but Rahul Gandhi may find it hard to brush off the blame if the Congress does fare badly on May 16th, since he was clearly the face of the campaign, holding 125 rallies in the last 2 months.
The golden rule in Congress: if something good happens, the credit goes to Madam and Rahulji. And if something bad happens, there is always a scapegoat.
While no one in the Congress is talking about a defeat just yet, its ally, the NCP, is being more pragmatic.
Whoever forms the government should be a good, stable government. At the end of the day, the country has to move forward. People's mandate has to be respected.
For now, the Congress is hoping that the exit polls are proved wrong, like they were in 2004 and 2009. If they aren't, who'll be the fall guy? Congress spin doctors are already working to project that it's not Rahul Gandhi's fault, but that may prove a mission quite impossible in the end. In New Delhi, Sunitra Chaudhary for NDTV.
So shouldn't the responsibility of how the Congress performs, whether it is bad, very bad, average, good, whatever it is, shouldn't the responsibility rest with Rahul Gandhi in particular? Let me take that question first to our analyst tonight, Santosh Desai, who joins us here in the studio. What do you make of the Congress leadership, other leadership, already shielding Rahul Gandhi? Whose responsibility will it be for how the Congress performs? Bottom line.
No, without question, there is no question of the fact that, it is Rahul Gandhi who has been the face of the campaign, and the fact that the Congress party is run by the family. The fact that if today the argument is that the government was not represented, he was not in government, that was a decision taken, by him and Sonia Gandhi. So, I think this is showing a party that is sadly out of touch with the mood of the electorate today. I think there have been fundamental changes, and this old kind of a routine is just really has worn thin. And I think there is impatience, there is a sense of derision and ridicule that the Congress is in the danger of attracting if it continues to play this ridiculous line, particularly when you've had somebody who's been the face of the campaign in every which way, squeezing out almost any other senior leader from the frame.
But what's also ironic is that after the assembly election performance, he said, after the Delhi results in particular, I remember he said that I do take responsibility for this and we need to learn from this. And yet the other leadership of the party goes out of its way to shield him, which makes it worse.
See, that the problem with the Congress is that they need the family. It has now become a kind of a prop. There was a time when the family was an engine, a charismatic vote-catching engine, which is what unified the party. There wasn't much by way of programs that actually had increasingly unified the Congress. Today, that engine is increasingly becoming what was an engine as a whole today. It is sucking up energy instead of adding energy. And yet, there is no option. Structurally, the party cannot do without having a presumptive leadership at the center. And therefore, it isn't really the Gandhi family that is looking for excuses as much as everybody else who's scurrying to make up excuses for the family, and it's a pathetic sight.
I'm going to go to Rajiv Desai, a well-known political analyst and someone who has also informally advised the Congress party on its strategy and its PR. And Mr. Desai, you know, how does it look when you hear people like Anand Sharma saying, I mean, here Srinivasan Jain asked him, well, you know, doesn't the responsibility vest with Rahul Gandhi? And he says, no, he's only the vice president. Hello? It really is an astounding statement, Mr. Desai.
No, well, I mean, you can't force people to think in media us versus them terms, Nidhi. The fact of the matter is that the convention has been in this country and in all parliamentary democracies that a party leads the campaign, and should it get enough seats in parliament, then it elects among the elected MPs, it chooses a leader. That convention has worked very well. It changed a little bit in the 90s with the emergence of these regional parties, one man, one leader parties. And finally, I think it was affirmed when the BJP announced a candidate. But I don't think, you know, first of all, nobody is shirking any responsibility. And what Anand says, from what I have seen, though I am not as closely involved with the workings of the party as Anand is, but from what I have seen, I think it's not just a one. You know, there is clearly Mrs. Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi are the top leaders of the Congress party. But there's a whole core group that I have seen, I mean, that is involved in the decision-making process. So I think they will all have to take the responsibility.
No, but Mr. Desai, the fact is that Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi call the shots in the Congress party. We can't kid ourselves on that. And I think leadership also means taking responsibility for the good and the bad. So why are we, you know, Kamal Nath also today saying that no, Rahul Gandhi wasn't a part of the government. It would be the government's failure if we don't do well. Why shouldn't Rahul Gandhi be blamed for how the Congress does if it does badly?
Blamed by whom, Nidhi?
By the party. If you need to introspect and rebuild, you can only do that if you're going to be honest about the reasons for the defeat, if it is that.
Well, and so do they have to sort of stand up on a podium and say, I hold Rahul responsible? Or can they have a conclave, talk about it and decide what to do? I don't understand what this taking of responsibility business is, unless it's some sort of a sparring in the media. Frank, what makes you think that they won't? What makes you think that they won't sit behind closed doors and discuss this issue? What makes you think that they might say, okay, well, you know, maybe we should be looking at some other aspects, some other ways, some other approaches to elections and to policy? We don't know that.
Because I think
so. Who says that?
At least a public acknowledgement that X person will take responsibility is important, because these are about the general elections.
No, but why?
No, you don't agree.
The Congress.
Let me get Chandan Mitra in on this, because would you say that as much as Rahul Gandhi would have to take responsibility for how the Congress does, equally so would Mr. Narendra Modi for how the BJP does? Whether you get 200 seats or 250 seats, you know, ultimately you projected him as the leader of your party officially. The Congress didn't do that with Rahul, but it was very clear that he was the face. Therefore, do you believe, Chandan Mitra, that individual leaders then need to take responsibility for how their parties perform?
Well, to begin with, what the Congress does with its first family is the party's business. It is really not for me to comment. But I can only say this much, that in Congress the problem is that even when a person says, I accept responsibility, when a member of the family says, I accept responsibility, what next? Is he or she going to step down from the position they occupy? Are they going to allow a democratically elected leader to emerge to lead the party? No, none of this is going to happen. So it's only a token, at best, a token acceptance that, okay, I mean, I tried something and it didn't work. So therefore, ultimately, it doesn't matter. You see, whether he takes responsibility or does not take responsibility, the Congress will go on as it has always done, under the banyan tree of the family, under which nothing grows.
For more than 100 years, I guess.
But the point is, Sanjay Jha, that if you're going to introspect seriously about how you're going to do and where you're going to go from here, it would start with at least acknowledging that something has gone wrong with the current leadership. That would be an honest assessment of things. Wouldn't you agree with at least that?
Nidhi, first and foremost, I think the entire discussion is purely academic. I know there have been some exit polls yesterday, but let me assure you that we are eagerly looking forward to the results on May 16. So I think we should hold our breath on, discussing, doing a whole diagnosis of what really needs to be done in the Congress party. We are confident the results will be surprising compared to what the exit polls have shown yesterday. I want to make a second point where Mr. Rahul Gandhi is concerned. Always I remember in the whole of last year, every time the criticism was that, Rahul Gandhi led the campaign in Uttar Pradesh, we didn't do well, he didn't do well in Bihar. Nobody mentions the fact that he was the same face as you have seen him in this election, campaigning as extensively along with Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, the Congress president, in 2009, a general election where we performed exceedingly well. Or the fact that there have been several state elections like in Maharashtra, Karnataka, and in undivided Andhra, in Punjab, in several states, in Haryana, in Himachal Pradesh, that we did well. Mr. Gandhi was never up there taking any credit for anything at all, and he always has talked of a team doing well. I go back to even the 2004 elections, the year in which he actually made his political debut, and within 2 months, we were in parliament, surprising all the pollsters, including the NDTV Indian Express poll. So I think let's wait for a while. And as far as the Mr. Gandhi is concerned, let me tell you, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Nidhi, that after the Uttar Pradesh result in 2012, where we really fought hard, the results were disappointing. I'm not denying that. Or the fact that we didn't do well in all the state assemblies in December. Mr. Gandhi did not need any leader from his own party or the media or anyone to tell him what to do. He went up, he said, listen, I was the forefront of the campaign, I take responsibility for it, and he did that with all the grace and humility that should be expected of a mature political leader. And I can tell you that right now, as we go into the next 3 days before the election results are announced, Mr. Gandhi when he said the other day, we have the numbers, it shows you a confidence. And I do believe that we should wait till the May 16th result to see how well the Congress does. And thereafter we can evaluate how worse the BJP does. And see what's the way forward for Indian politics.
But I don't, I'm just using my common sense right now. I don't exactly see all becoming the single largest party. I think let's at least admit that there is a major anti-incumbency against the Congress. My simple point is, why is it so difficult for a congressman today to say, whatever the outcome of this election, good, bad, ugly, so-so, it is going to be Rahul Gandhi's responsibility. Because if it's better than you thought, if you cross 130 seats, if you do, because I know internally your party thinks 130 is a good number. If you reach that number, you'll say it's okay. But what if you fall way below that? The point is, are you willing to concede that he is the leader and he has to take responsibility whichever way this goes?
Nidhi, let me answer that. Firstly, the internal benchmark is a lot higher. So, I don't know where you got the number from. The number that I have is significantly higher than that. At the point number two, when you fight an election in 500 odd constituencies in India, and we are the only party that has got a real deep, genuine pan-India presence, you have committees. There was a campaign committee. There is a selection of candidates committee. Now, all these impact your final outcome. You have actually a committee which was looking at coalitions. And, you'll realize that all these have a very important say in the final outcome. So, end of day, while obviously the buck stops at the top, nobody's going to deny that. I'm borrowing the famous line from one of your programs. The buck will always stop at the top, and I don't think that's an issue that we can debate.
Chalo, at least you
but
said
the truth is, there are senior leaders always who are part of the entire decision-making committees and decision-making organization within the organization. So I think when Mr. Anand Sharma says that it is a collective responsibility, he is saying what is actually a fact. The fact that Mr. Gandhi has spearheaded the campaign and done an excellent job of it also cannot be denied. But the end outcome of any election, whether it's good, whether it's made or whether it's disappointing, is always a team effort.
Is this going to be a watershed election in many ways? Not just because of Narendra Modi, but the future of the family. Because if the Congress doesn't do well, especially if it falls below 100 seats, do you think that could change the entire dynamic of how the Congress itself looks at the Gandhi family?
Nidhi, the Congress has been a historically important political party for our country. I think the nation would be happy if the party revamps itself. Now, if indeed the Congress is going to get the kind of seats which are indicated or expected, which is to perform far below what it had done in the last two elections, I think the Congress leaders are doing a great disservice to this party and to Rahul Gandhi by trying to overzealously protect him. I think the real issue is here that if Mr. Rahul Gandhi wants to play the role of revamping the Congress party, leadership demands that he accepts responsibility. For too long, and I have said this once on one occasion to Mr. Gandhi himself, for too long Mr. Gandhi has tried to actually get the benefit of all possible worlds and both worlds. Where, as someone just said, credit is due, it goes to him, and where there is suboptimal performance, it is immediately deflected or shelved. He is the leader of the Congress party. He was the face of the campaign. Yes, he has made mistakes, and I believe the Congress party has. But whatever happens, it is for the leader to take responsibility, and I believe it would be strategically good for him to do that. It is time to sit, if the Congress does indeed perform as per expectations or as per exit polls or as per what people think it may get this time. It's time to sit in the opposition, revamp the party, with humility take responsibility and say in an election, in a democracy, we'll be there to fight another day, because ultimately we represent, from the point of view of the Congress, a certain mainstream of India which is relevant. By evading responsibility, you fall flat between every possible stool. And I would urge the Congress party to put an end to this sycophancy and allow a leader to play his true role.
Okay, I'll take that point that you raised to Rajiv Desai. Mr. Desai, you heard what Pawan Verma said. Allow the leader to play his true role, end the sycophancy, do an honest analysis of how the party has done. I think those sound like pretty reasonable points.
Well, but yes, of course, but who says that they won't do it? They don't have to do it on television channels or on editorial pages or on social media. They do it, they'll do it behind closed doors, conference rooms and everywhere else. How do you know they won't? That's number one. Number two, I think just on a slightly larger issue, you called it a watershed election. As far as I'm concerned, it's a watershed in a different kind of way, because it seems to me convention after convention after convention which has sustained us, sustained the Constitution, the Constitutional Republic of India for all these years, is being turned on its head and thrown to the winds. The fact is, it's been a convention that parties compete in elections, they win seats, and their MPs elect a leader. There might be in certain cases a very well-known leader, as has been in the case of Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi. There have been, but there has also been Manmohan Singh, and there's also been P.V. Narasimha Rao. So they, you know, it's not, they have these, there is a selection process, it's obvious. And as far as, looking inside and retrospecting and all of that sort of stuff, why do you assume they will not? And why should you expect them to do it on a television channel or on an editorial page of a newspaper?
We assume
don't
that,
understand
not because we've made that up, but because you hear senior ministers, you hear senior ministers in the government already saying, no, don't blame him, poor chap, you know, it's us,
but
it's all of us. So the point is then that
I heard
that's
what Anand said.
Yeah.
Nidhi, I heard
He's
what
only the
Anand
vice
said,
president of
and
the Congress?
He did not. But he does not sound sycophantic when he says that. He's stating a fact. I mean, how does making a point that Rahul Gandhi is the vice president of the Congress party an indicator of sycophancy? I don't understand that.
Because he's not just a vice president like, say, Smriti Irani is of the BJP. Rahul Gandhi and his mother run the Congress party. He is not just another vice president. He is leading the Congress's campaign.
You know, that's not. Nidhi, I told you this, and the much more knowledgeable Mr. Sanjay Jha told you this, that it's not like that. It's not some sort of, I've seen it for years. It's not like command and control. There are lots of mediating factors. There are committees. There are different influences. There are different lobbies. It's not a
Pawan Verma is shaking his head.
One command
Pawan
goes
Verma
out.
disagrees with you. Yes, Mr. Verma, and then I'll come to Chandan
can I
Mitra on
come
this
in
point.
here?
Yes, Pawan Verma.
Nidhi, can I come in?
Yeah, Sanjay, one moment. Okay, I'll just get back to Pawan Verma once we restore that line. Chandan Mitra, on this issue of what happens if the Congress was to fall below that 100-seat mark, could this be a defining moment in how the family is viewed, or as Santosh Desai seemed to say, that the Congress party needs the family? It is the core of its structure.
Well, much as I appreciate the valiant attempts by my friend Rajiv Desai to explain how things work in the Congress, I must say, I feel a sense of deja vu. We've seen it so many times that after every failure of the Congress in recent years, every failure is attributed to a collective leadership, and every success, howsoever minor, to the charisma of the family. And this is exactly what will happen inside closed doors, as Rajiv says, or in television studios, or on the editorial pages. It will all, the blame game will go on, and in the blame game it will be said that the family is great, and whatever failure has happened, it is the middle rung leadership, the collective leadership, that we take responsibility, not they. You know, it reminds me of a North Korean slogan in the era of Kim Il-sung, in which the slogan was, "The leader is right, the future is bright." I am reminded of the same situation in the Congress. Irrespective of performance, the leader will always be right, and the future they will imagine will always be bright, although it's not going to happen that way.
I'll take that point to Santosh Desai. The point that Rajiv Desai makes is, are we presuming that there will not be any serious introspection within the party, or do these public statements indicate a thinking, within the senior leadership of the party on how they plan to introspect really?
Yeah. In a sense, you can't have it both ways. You cannot have, as Sanjay Jha says, that it's too early and we are going to do much better than expected, and yet at the same time have people making apologies on behalf.
Why not, Santosh? Why not?
Exactly, you cannot, because of the fact that you are arguing through both sides of your mouth. If you are expecting great results, why are you apologizing already?
Good point.
Then you don't apologize. Then you say, I'm expecting great results. You don't say that this is collective, it's a collective failure when you haven't failed. If that is your narrative, stick to it.
It's nonsense.
You can't have it both ways.
Why Rajiv Desai? Why do you disagree with that? I mean, he has a point. If the Congress feels it's going to do so well.
What's the point?
The point is, then why already say that no, it's collective responsibility? Then you're indicating which way you think this is going as well.
No, hello, listen, that's not fair, Nidhi. First of all, I'm not a spokesman for the Congress. I have been associated with it for several professional and other reasons. But the fact is, if a journalist sticks a mic in your face and a camera and asks you, so do you think that if the Congress does badly, Rahul is to blame? What will you expect somebody to say?
That the buck
That
stops
is
with
too
the
early,
leadership.
or that is too early to comment.
I mean, at least Sanjay Jha said
Which is
the
what
buck
Sanjay
stops
Jha
with
is
the
saying
top.
right now. Why can't they do what he is doing right now? What's so difficult about that?
What? I have never said anything. Santosh, chill, man. We're not, just chill.
You interrupted me.
Okay, let Santosh Desai finish
You
his
interrupted
point.
me, Rajiv.
Okay, no, but the point that you were making on the issue of the family in particular, because that was interesting what you were saying earlier, that the party needs them more than anything else.
Yeah, I think, if you look at the structure right now, what is the Congress's strength today? The fact that nobody can aspire to the top position. So you have a bunch of people who come together to share in power, which in the past, the family was in a position to help them gain power. And that is the structure, that is the kind of cozy arrangement in the Congress. Today, increasingly, the rest of them need the family, but the family is not stepping up. It is not delivering the engine of the vote-catching engine that is so central.
You don't even think that Priyanka would be a good replacement, as everyone keeps saying?
See, as of now, Priyanka is a television phenomenon.
Not tested.
Why only
It's a
look at the
television
family?
phenomenon.
Well, I'm asking what people are asking, and I agree. I mean, but you're saying that there's no talent. I mean, there is talent outside the family.
Why should we just think about Priyanka? I mean, I'm just saying that.
No,
why
I'm
does
saying
the question?
that you're saying they're not willing to move beyond the Gandhis.
Yeah, and if
that is the bottom line.
Yeah, they're not, and that's the reason why when we move to a Priyanka, the question is, what is her? You know, on what basis can you presume that she would be a leader, not just of the party but of the country? I mean, on what evidence would you even begin to argue that? Where is the evidence apart from the fact that she campaigns in the family constituencies and does a good job?
No, so therefore, are you saying that if the Congress wants to seriously introspect, it needs to move away from the family?
Can I come in,
Of course,
please?
that should be
I
an
have to
option on
leave.
the table.
Okay, Pawan Verma, can they move away from the family? Then is the question. Santosh Desai says they need to do that. It's imperative.
No, Nidhi, I just want to go back to one thing my good friend Rajiv said. First of all, whatever the indoor analysis, you don't take responsibility in camera. You must take responsibility, and I agree with Chandan, this is a matter for it's an internal matter for the Congress. But I'm just expressing an opinion. If a leader takes responsibility, he takes it publicly. He takes it on television, he takes it otherwise. He does it with humility and says, I am now preparing for how to revamp this party. That's the way to do it. For too long, this great party, the Congress party, which has a huge lineage, which goes back to our freedom movement, has seen this kind of intellectual inertness and sycophancy, where leaders of the party say one thing in front of the leader, the great leader, and one thing behind his back. All of this intellectual inertness, hypocrisy, subterfuge, deceit must end. It should be a party which once again debates issues and comes out in the open, and with a leader who accepts responsibility and is accountable for that. In 7 years in a party, if you become a vice president of the party, then try to revamp it by saying I'm democratizing the party. Who is believing that message?
Sanjay Jha, do you want to answer
If you are
that?
the
Do you
face
want
of
to
the
answer
party,
those
you
points
accept
raised by Pawan Verma?
responsibility for it.
No. Yeah, no, firstly, I would, firstly, I'm very delighted to have so many people with such great solicitude for the Congress party. I mean, that's incredible support. I'm overwhelmed by it. Thank you. As far as Mr. Verma is concerned, I would like to remind him, with due respect, I have the hugest respect for Mr. Verma. But the truth is that whether it was after the UP Assembly results, whether it was after the defeat that we had in the Assembly results in December, Mr. Gandhi spoke to the camera, sir. And he was not trying to be, at all coy about the fact that we hadn't done well, and he was taking full responsibility. I also object to the term being used by a very agitated panelist of yours when he keeps repeating the family. If there is a family in India that runs a party, it is based in Nagpur, because as you saw, the moment the elections came to an end on the 12th, Mr. Modi and Mr. Rajnath Singh have been paying their due, kind of subjugated service to Mr. Mohan Bhagwat of the RSS. So that's the real family that should concern us. And I want to make a third point. Nidhi, I want to make a third point. I want to make a third point, and a very pertinent point. I remember he said it elsewhere as well. But when Mr. Gandhi was in Mumbai, he had an informal chat with the news persons. Even I happened to be there. And you can ask anybody who was there. I don't know whether NDTV was present or not. But the truth is, he said so. He said before all the journalists that it is a completely mistaken notion if you believe that in the Congress party, there is a command culture where I decide something and everybody falls in line, or the Congress president says something and everybody says yes to it. In fact, he said it's completely untrue. He said you'll be surprised how many times I have to create a consensus. I don't know who's interrupting me there.
But
I said I don't know how many times do I have to create a consensus.
He went and tore up the ordinance when the Prime Minister was abroad, and look what happened. It just took one tearing of that ordinance. I mean, we know who calls the shots. Come on.
I mean, this is just
Well, let me answer that for you. Now, let me answer that charge. Because while, Mr. Gandhi as himself, but Mr. Desai should know it, that Mr. Gandhi had no hesitation in saying it not once but several times over, that he regretted the fact that maybe the method was inappropriate. But I want to draw the attention of Mr. Desai and Mr. Mitra and even my good friend Mr. Verma, that thanks to Mr. Gandhi's decision to tear the ordinance today, which all political parties had agreed to, and he defied his own party and the government to make sure that convicted and corrupt politicians who are convicted would not be able to contest an election. So give him credit
and
for
you know
it.
that is completely not the point of what is being argued
here.
The
bottom line is India has gained by Mr. Gandhi tearing the ordinance. India has gained. Indian political system is more purified today.